Listen English. Alara often found herself trapped within a silent world, her thoughts racing in English, but her voice remaining stubbornly hushed. A deep-seated fear of making mistakes paralyzed her every attempt to speak, turning simple conversations into daunting challenges. She desperately wanted to express herself, to share her ideas. Yet the invisible barrier of self-doubt always loomed large, a constant shadow over her aspirations. Why You Must Read English, a blog post title, had caught her eye one restless evening. It resonated deeply with her yearning for proficiency, understanding the immense opportunities that fluency could unlock. English was not merely a subject. It was a global bridge, a conduit for knowledge, and a key to countless personal and professional doors she longed to open someday. She often pondered, "Learn English," a phrase that seemed both an inspiring mantra and an insurmountable mountain. Despite hours spent studying grammar rules and memorizing vocabulary, the practical application felt like navigating an endless maze. The frustration mounted with each unspoken word, each missed opportunity to engage, leaving her feeling perpetually stuck and disheartened. "I don't want make mistake, but I always why," Alara confided in her journal, a poignant reflection of her core anxiety. Every syllable felt scrutinized, every sentence a potential pitfall of grammatical errors or mispronunciations. This relentless self-criticism created a vicious cycle, where the fear of error actively prevented her from practicing, thus perpetuating the very mistakes she dreaded. She yearned for the effortless flow she observed in others, the casual banter, the confident presentations. The thought, how to think and speak, became a recurring obsession, an intricate puzzle she desperately needed to solve. Her dream was simple: to articulate her thoughts directly, without the cumbersome translation process or the suffocating weight of apprehension. One day, a friend recommended, "Listen English, just listen." This simple advice sparked a new approach. Alara started consuming English content voraciously: podcasts during her commute, documentaries while cooking, and engaging audiobooks before sleep. She wasn't actively analyzing. She was merely immersing herself in the rhythm and sounds of the language. This passive immersion began to subtly shift her perception. Phrases started to sound more natural, intonations became clearer, and common expressions began to sink in without conscious effort. It was like tuning an old radio, slowly finding the right frequency amidst the static. The sheer volume of input was gradually building a foundational soundscape in her mind. Next, she revisited the idea of reading. Why You Must Read English now made more sense. She began with graded readers, then short stories, gradually progressing to articles on topics she genuinely found interesting. Reading exposed her to diverse vocabulary and sentence structures and context, reinforcing what her ears were absorbing. This consistent reading practice unveiled a treasure trove of linguistic patterns. She noticed how words combined, how ideas flowed from one sentence to the next, and how different authors crafted their narratives. It was more than just vocabulary acquisition. It was an intimate dance with the language, revealing its intricate beauty and logical progression. The combination of listening and reading started to connect dots within her brain. Words she heard were now seen, and words she read were now heard, creating a stronger, multi-sensory understanding. This dual input method solidified her grasp on pronunciation and spelling simultaneously, making the learning process feel more holistic and interconnected. Yet, the specter of mistakes still lingered. "I don't want make mistake, but I always why," she reminded herself, realizing she needed to directly confront this fear. It wasn't enough to just consume. She had to produce. The transition from passive understanding to active speaking remained her biggest hurdle, a formidable wall needing dismantling. A pivotal shift occurred when she stumbled upon a video titled, "Why Mistakes Are Your Best Teachers." It argued that errors are not failures, but essential feedback mechanisms. This radically altered her perspective. Mistakes were no longer something to avoid at all costs, but valuable signposts on the path to mastery, guiding her forward. This new mindset was liberating. She began to view each error as an opportunity for refinement, a chance to identify gaps in her knowledge and fill them. The pressure to be perfect eased considerably, replaced by a genuine curiosity about what she could learn from her missteps. It was a profound psychological unburdening. The next frontier was how to think and speak. Alara started by labeling objects around her house in English, then moved to narrating her daily activities mentally. "I am making coffee now. The water is boiling. I will add milk." This internal monologue was awkward at first, but slowly gained momentum and fluidity. She practiced thinking her thoughts directly in English, bypassing the translation process from her native language. This helped her to structure sentences more naturally and access vocabulary more quickly. It was like building a direct neural pathway for English expression, strengthening the mental muscles required for spontaneous speech. Then came the formidable challenge of English talking practice. She started small, speaking to herself in front of a mirror, describing pictures, or summarizing articles she had read. It felt silly initially, but it built muscle memory for her mouth and tongue, familiarizing them with English sounds and speech patterns. Gradually, she sought out opportunities to converse with others. Online language exchange platforms became her training ground. She found patient partners who were also learning, creating a supportive environment free from judgment. These low-stakes conversations were crucial for putting her internal practice into real-world application. A powerful realization hit her: why you should practice speaking. It wasn't just about vocabulary or grammar. It was about building confidence and fluency through repetition. Each conversation, no matter how brief or imperfect, chipped away at her hesitation, making the act of speaking feel increasingly natural and less daunting. The initial awkward pauses and fumbling for words slowly diminished. She discovered that most native speakers were more interested in understanding her message than in correcting every tiny grammatical error. This newfound acceptance from others significantly reduced her self-consciousness and encouraged more frequent participation. How make confidence in speaking became less a mystery and more a direct result of consistent action. Every successful interaction, every time she managed to convey her meaning, no matter how imperfectly, added a small brick to her wall of confidence. The cumulative effect was surprisingly robust and empowering. Her journey, though challenging, was becoming a very interesting story. It wasn't just about learning a language. It was about personal transformation. She was shedding layers of insecurity, discovering a resilience she hadn't known she possessed. Each step forward, however small, felt like a significant victory in her quest. Alara incorporated English into her daily routine organically. She started watching English movies without subtitles, then with English subtitles, and eventually progressed to understanding most dialogue directly. Reading English news articles became a morning ritual, expanding her general knowledge while simultaneously enhancing her vocabulary. She began actively engaging with English content, not just passively consuming it. She would pause videos to repeat phrases, highlight new words in articles, and look up expressions she didn't understand. This active engagement deepened her learning, transforming her from a recipient of information into an active participant in her education. The more she practiced, the more natural English felt. It was like learning to ride a bicycle, initially wobbly and uncertain, but with persistence, becoming second nature. The confidence she gained in speaking English started to ripple into other areas of her life, making her generally more assertive and outgoing. She realized that how to learn English was not a fixed formula, but a dynamic process of experimentation, consistent effort, and self-compassion. There were days of frustration, but she learned to acknowledge them, take a break, and return with renewed determination. Progress wasn't linear, but it was always happening. Her internal monologue had completely shifted. She no longer had to translate from her native language. Thoughts formed directly in English, fluid and unhindered. This mental liberation was profound, allowing her to process information and formulate responses at a much faster, more efficient pace, mirroring native speakers. Spontaneous conversations no longer filled her with dread. She found herself responding quickly, even cracking jokes or sharing personal anecdotes without the usual mental gymnastics. The words flowed, sometimes imperfectly, but always authentically, conveying her true meaning and personality without significant delay or awkwardness. The true joy came from connection. She could now engage in meaningful discussions with people from diverse backgrounds, understanding their perspectives and sharing her own. English transformed from a barrier into a powerful tool for bridging cultural gaps and forging new friendships, enriching her life immensely. Even with newfound fluency, Alara understood that how to learn English was an ongoing journey. She continued to read challenging books, listen to complex debates, and seek out opportunities for advanced conversation. The thirst for knowledge and refinement remained, ensuring her skills would always be honed. Her voice, once timid and hesitant, now resonated with assurance. How make confidence in speaking was no longer a theoretical concept, but a lived reality. She had transformed from someone who avoided English at all costs to someone who actively sought opportunities to use it, eager to communicate. She often looked back at her initial struggles, remembering the profound fear that had once consumed her. The thought, "I don't want make mistake, but I always why," now seemed distant, a relic of a past self she barely recognized. The journey had been arduous, but the transformation was undeniable and deeply rewarding. The power of consistent effort and unwavering persistence had been her greatest teachers. She understood that fluency wasn't about innate talent, but about showing up daily, making mistakes, learning from them, and continuing to push forward, even when motivation wavered slightly. This discipline was key. English was no longer a rigid set of rules, but a living, breathing entity, full of nuances and expressions waiting to be explored. She delighted in discovering new idioms, understanding subtle jokes, and appreciating the varied accents of native speakers. It was a language she now truly embraced. Alara even started sharing her very interesting story with other aspiring learners. She told them about the importance of listen English every single day, emphasizing quality over quantity when it came to content, choosing materials that genuinely captivated their interest and attention spans. She stressed why you must read English, explaining how reading expanded vocabulary, improved grammar instinctively, and exposed learners to diverse writing styles. She advised them to read widely, from fiction to nonfiction, exploring subjects they loved to keep the learning process engaging and fun. I don't want to make mistake, but I always why was a question she now answered with confidence. Because mistakes are part of the process. Embrace them. She taught them to analyze their errors, understand the underlying reasons, and actively work to correct them, transforming stumbling blocks into stepping stones. For those struggling with how to think and speak, she suggested starting with simple internal monologues, building up gradually. Narrate your day to yourself in English. Describe what you see, what you feel, what you plan, she would advise, emphasizing consistency in this mental exercise. English talking practice is non-negotiable, she asserted. She encouraged them to find conversation partners, join online groups, or even just record themselves speaking. The act of producing language, she explained, was the ultimate test and reinforcement of everything they had learned passively. Why you should practice speaking, she would elaborate, is because it builds fluency. It trains your brain to retrieve words faster, your mouth to form sounds more smoothly, and your confidence to soar. The more you speak, she reiterated, the less daunting it becomes, transforming hesitation into ease. How make confidence in speaking was about developing resilience, she concluded. It wasn't about being perfect. It was about being willing to be imperfect, to take risks, and to learn from every interaction. Confidence, she realized, was a skill cultivated through consistent, courageous action and self-belief. Alara was no longer the quiet, hesitant person she once was. Her English proficiency had opened up a world of possibilities, international friends, career opportunities, and access to a vast ocean of information. She felt empowered, her voice finally unburdened and free to express her authentic self. She felt more connected to the world, a true global citizen. The language barriers that once seemed insurmountable had dissolved, replaced by pathways of communication and understanding. Her journey served as a powerful testament to the transformative impact of dedication and the sheer joy of learning. Her story became an inspiration, a beacon of hope for countless others grappling with similar anxieties. They saw in her journey a clear roadmap, a tangible example that fluency was attainable not through magic, but through deliberate, consistent effort and a courageous spirit. Every morning, Alara still started her day with Listen English, absorbing global news or captivating stories. Her afternoon breaks were dedicated to why you must read English, delving into academic papers or engaging novels, constantly expanding her intellectual horizons with new insights and perspectives. She sought out challenging conversations, eager to push her boundaries and refine her vocabulary in new contexts. The occasional mistake no longer triggered panic. Instead, it prompted a quick mental note for future correction, a testament to her evolved, I don't want make mistake, but I always why mindset. Her internal dialogue remained predominantly in English, making how to think and speak an effortless, natural process. This constant mental engagement kept her language skills sharp, ready for any spontaneous interaction or planned presentation, ensuring a fluid transition from thought to utterance. English talking practice was still a fundamental part of her routine. Whether it was joining an online discussion group, mentoring a new learner, or simply chatting with friends, she seized every opportunity to articulate her thoughts, reinforcing her confidence with each uttered word. Why you should practice speaking resonated profoundly with her own experience. She knew that passive learning could only go so far. True mastery came through active production and real-time application. It was the bridge between knowing and doing, between theory and practical fluency. Her ability to make confidence in speaking was now evident in her poised demeanor, her clear articulation, and her willingness to engage on complex topics. She spoke with conviction, not just accurate grammar, demonstrating a deep understanding and comfort with the language. Indeed, Alera's journey was a very interesting story, but more importantly, it was a very interesting life she now lived, full of cross-cultural exchanges, intellectual growth, and genuine connections, all made possible by her unwavering commitment to learning and mastering English, her gateway to the world. She often pondered how to learn English, knowing it was a unique path for everyone, yet with universal principles, consistent exposure, active practice, and a mindset that embraced mistakes as stepping stones. It was about persistence, not perfection, and celebrating every small victory along the way. Beyond just speaking, she gained invaluable skills, problem-solving when words failed, empathy when understanding different accents, and resilience when facing communication hurdles. Learning English taught her much more than grammar. It refined her character and broadened her entire perspective on life. The girl who once whispered, "I don't want make mistake, but I always why," now spoke with clear, confident tones, her voice echoing the freedom she had found. She was living proof that dedication could transform profound fear into joyful, uninhibited self-expression, truly a remarkable personal evolution. Her journey had come full circle, from hesitant listener to confident speaker, and now an inspiring mentor. She continued to listen English, why you must read English, and most importantly, practice, 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 understanding that language acquisition is a beautiful, lifelong cycle of growth and discovery. To anyone still wrestling with apprehension, she offered a simple message: embrace the journey. Speak, even if you stutter. Read, even if you don't understand every word. Listen, even if it feels overwhelming. Your voice deserves to be heard, and English is waiting for you.